Chapter 10. Down on the Farm. Getting ahead of myself here. I should relate what was happening to me during the 4 months from my capture to the time my parents got my postcard. It's not a pleasant story. I wasn't exactly on vacation. Upon surrendering on the cold January afternoon, German paratroopers loaded us into trucks, which hauled us to a large prison camp outside of Rome. We were given no food and a little water during the 3-day journey. I did not tolerate hunger well. Even today, I was determined not to starve if I can help it. It was on that trip that I quickly schooled in the art of trash can subsistence. I learned to scavenge through garbage containers, whatever we stopped along the route. Eating other people's leavings wasn't that difficult. We heard some folks say that they would rather die than eat certain things. I don't have a clue. There simply isn't anything a man won't eat when he's actually starving to death. Upon arrival in Rome, we were hustled into what was really not a prison, just a huge area with a wire fence enclosure that served as a temporary holding pen for the prisoners. We were given nothing to eat, and there was no sanitation. Men had tried to mark off an area to be used as a crude latrine. The stench, even in the midwinter, was undescribably disgusting. The only good thing about the camp was that the German mess hall garbage cans were accessible, and our meals improved quite a bit during the short time we were there. We feasted on apple cores, potato peelings, meat gristle, and moldy bread. During this time, hunger was my constant tormentor, but on one occasion it might have saved my life. While searching through my clothes one day for a small crumb of something to eat that I had somehow overlooked, I searched in a little used back pocket. Didn't find food, but I might have found eternity. In the back pocket was a grenade. I was obviously carrying it on my person for almost 2 weeks without anyone, even me, knowing it was there. It was a no-brainer. I had to get rid of it, or I was history, so I buried it in a trash can, the first can I got. We thought the conditions in the holding pen intolerable, but we were downright comfortable compared to what was to come. Orders arrived within a few days that once again we were moving out. The next part of our journey would be unimaginable hell. We were herded into boxcars and shipped by train over the Brenner Pass to permanent camps to IB in Heiberstein on the Polish border near Danzig. Back then, the journey to Danzig was actually one, or at most a 2-day trip. However, we POWs were aboard the train for 9 days. The reason our trip took so long was that if the Germans needed the railroad tracks our train was traveling on for their own men or supplies, they would route the boxcar to a side track and let us sit, sometimes for days at a time. Conditions on board that train were undescribable. The Germans must have wanted the world to think them humane and following the Geneva Convention, so we got 2 drinks of water and a piece of moldy bread each day. But with the temperatures well below freezing, we were given no blankets, and many of the men suffered severe frostbite. This still wasn't the worst part. Worst of all, the men had been squeezed into boxcars, so many per car that laying down was impossible. To this day, I cannot fully come to terms with the fact that human beings could actually treat one another the way those men did. Mark Twain said, "Civilization is only possible when one is well fed." Civilized behavior is impossible when a man cannot lie down to sleep. At first, we tried to organize a fair system of taking turns, lying down. We elected a leader to take charge of the sleeping rotations. A system requiring some to squeeze even closer together while others stretched out to a prone sleeping position. But as cold, hunger, and fatigue exacted our toll, survival of the fittest took over. Men lashed out at each other, first verbally, then physically. Weaker men were stepped on, trampled, and some pushed toward the boxcar's perimeter and pressed so unmercilessly hard against its rough wall they nearly died from suffocation. Some of the interior of the car had trouble breathing too, and if they passed out, the bodies then served as sleeping mats for the stronger. Once again, my large size was my salvation. I'm a mild-mannered man, but I managed to maintain my decency through the brute strength and sheer stubborn will. I don't blame or criticize my fellow POWs for their behavior, nor do I condone it. War is hell, and only those who have experienced it can fully relate to what I experienced during those horrific days. To say we suffered is to do an injustice to the word and to the brave and hardy men who survived that ordeal.